Cole is usually the guy that makes my coffee. Usually he's the one that makes my mocha, and he is in the bathroom. This has become a pattern for Cole. He's always in the bathroom when I come in here in the afternoon to get my coffee. So we're gonna have to do an interview and see what this is all about. What's he really doing in there, honestly. Cole, you want to be on camera? Yeah, I'm gonna slide the camera under the door, and then you can answer a few questions. Going to get a coffee. Hopefully Cole's not in the bathroom. When he's in the bathroom, I can't get a coffee. We'll see. Aren't you supposed to be in the bathroom?
Pardon?
Aren't you supposed to be in the bathroom?
Not this time.
Not this time.
I just got out of the bathroom.
Okay, my mom's not in there anymore?
No.
Got my mocha. It's good Cole wasn't in the bathroom, not this time. But he did go in the bathroom for a little bit there, but maybe he's making my mochas in the bathroom. They're not really toilet mochas, okay? So people, seriously, they're really the best mochas ever I have at Hemlock Coffee, so they're not really toilet mochas. Disclaimer. Train the muscles, not the joints. Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to talk to you about 5 ways that you can gain strength, like 5 techniques that you could apply to gain strength. And I know a lot of you veterans out there will be very familiar with these 5 ways, but I just thought, hey, it'd be good to put it down on a list because there are some people tuning in this channel that don't know how to strength train. They always ask, how do I get stronger? How do I get stronger? So, first things first, I will say, one way to get stronger is to get more coordinated, meaning to perfect the groove of a certain movement. And one way you can do this is by higher frequency training, which is one of the principles that I apply in my workout programs, where you're using moderate to heavy weight, but at the same time, you're training the body parts more frequently, so that way the coordination is going up. Therefore, you can push more weight more efficiently. Now, of course, there are some stipulations. If you're going to train more frequently, obviously, you have to do less volume, and you have to adjust the weights and the intensities based on that higher level of frequency, which is what I do in the workout programs. I kind of outline and show you how you can do this, so that way you don't overtrain in the process, because obviously you can't do a full-on 20-30 set workout for a body part and do that 5 days a week, right? That would be silly. You'd overtrain really quickly. So yeah, you have to adjust the other parameters to deal with this, but you definitely will get a strength gain from just a higher level of coordination, because you're always practicing that movement. You're finding that perfect groove. It's like throwing a baseball every day. If you throw a baseball every day, you're going to get more efficient at throwing that ball, and your speed is going to increase, mostly because of efficiency. Now, when you're more efficient, when it comes down to a barbell or dumbbell exercise, what will happen is you'll start to be able to use more weight for the same amount of reps. And this will be more intense on the body, and therefore translate into more muscle growth as well as more strength. There you go. That's tip number 1. The second way to gain strength is to pyramid train, meaning that you work up with lighter weights and you progress slowly by small increments up until you reach your maximum poundage or close to your maximal poundage. Now, I never recommend doing a 1 rep max. So I'm not saying that you would do a set of 8 reps with a heavy weight, then a 6 reps with a little bit of heavier weight, then a 4 reps with a little bit heavier weight, and then a 2 reps with your max. Like, the whole time you have to bear in mind, you're not hitting absolute failure. What you're trying to do is lead your body into getting used to handling heavy weight. So the big mistake beginners make is that they do a few warm-up sets of 20 reps or whatever, which is fine, but then they start to work into their work sets, and they'll do that 8 rep set pyramiding, but that 8 reps is to failure. So they'll use a weight that they can only get 8 reps with, and they'll just strain it out. And then they go to their next set and they strain out 6 reps on that one. And then they do the next thing. So by the time they get to the last set, they're already burned out from putting so much energy into those first few sets. Now remember, this isn't a hypertrophy workout. We're not doing hypertrophy here. This is not a bodybuilding technique. This is a power technique. So what you want to do is use every set as a warm-up until you get to that last set. And even that last set, is not meant to be to failure, because what you're trying to do is just get used to handling that heavy weight over and over again. So say you can do 2 reps in the last set, and that's what you've decided to do. You're going to do a 2 rep set at your last set. Well, that 2 reps, you should be able to get about 4 reps with that weight, but that weight will progressively go up each workout. And at some point, you'll notice that you will make strength gains. Like all of a sudden, a weight that you're doing 2 reps with, all of a sudden you're going up by 20 pounds and you're easily doing 2 reps with that, because you're building familiarity with the groove and with the firing in the muscles and the coordination. This familiarity is what's bringing more strength to you. So this is a common technique and it's asked about all the time on the channel. So yeah, the big tip you can take from this is don't go to failure in your progressive sets as you're working up. And even on your last set, it's not meant for you to go to failure. It's not like doing a 1 rep max every single workout. That's the big mistake people make with this technique. If you do that, you're going to get injured. It's only a matter of time, because you're not supposed to strain when you're doing maximal weights or heavier weights. You want to make sure everything's moving smoothly so you're not grinding out that rep, or you're not losing your balance, or you're not getting stalled too much, because that's going to cause an injury, or it's going to increase your risk of an injury. So just bear that in mind, right? Everything should be easy, nice fluid movements, and you're getting used to using heavier weight and it being fluid and easy peasy. And it's not a hypertrophy workout. Remember that too. Wow, smells like mocha in here. Now the next way you can gain strength is by straight sets with heavy weight. And the same premise applies as in the pyramid training. These straight sets are not taken to failure. After you do a few warm-ups and you get the blood in the area and you feel confident that you're stretched out and warmed up, then you go into your work weight and then you do multiple sets of a heavier weight, not taking the sets to failure, but challenging yourself nevertheless. So a 5x5 program is an example of this. It could be a 7x3 program, or you know, a 3x7 program, whatever you decide, whatever type of intensity you decide. And what you do is you do each set to the designated amount of reps that you choose. And usually it's in the 3 to 7 rep category. That's usually the area that you will work with when it comes down to strength. So you may be able to easily hit those reps in the first several sets, but then the final set, that's where it might be a bit challenging, where you might not be able to get that final rep or not. But it's good to work with a weight where you can easily do. So say you're doing 5x5, it's good to start with a weight that you can easily do 5 sets of 5 reps all the way through, and then each week or each workout you progress by 5 pounds or 2.5 pounds or whatever it is, whatever small increment that you can progress by, and then you continue on the program until you hit a plateau where you're no longer able to get that 5 reps, and then you might go down again in weight until you can easily get the 5 reps for each set. So like I said, this can apply with different rep ranges. You can do it with 7 reps, or you can do it with 3 reps, whatever, but just bear in mind that you don't want to hit failure, because the goal is not to strain, it's to perfect the groove and to get the body acclimated to handling heavy weight. So you do this type of thing for a period of 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it is you want, but usually about 4 weeks to 6 weeks I think is a good idea. And then you can go back into your hypertrophy bodybuilding training where you're taking the sets to failure and you're using moderate weights instead of just super heavy all the time. It still smells like mocha around here. So here's an example of 5x5 training. I'm going to show you some clips here where I went to the gym and did 5x5. Now, I can do heavier weight or lighter weight, depends on how much I ate that day and how much or how often I'm training heavy with a certain movement. But for this particular day, I chose 295 on the bench for my 5x5. So first I started with some warm-up sets of 1 plate and then 2 plates, like 225, 135. I did 2 or 3 sets of that just to warm up, to make sure the blood was going and to make sure I was nice and loose and make sure I was stretched up. And then after that, I then went into my work weight of 295 and then completed 5 reps. Now, I'll rest about 2 to 3 minutes in between sets and then make sure that my breath is back and I have lots of energy. And energy isn't the weak link. You don't want to be out of breath, and you don't want the burn of the muscle or something like that to be stopping you from doing the set. You want actual strength, like where you just cannot push the weight. So you want to make sure that energy is not the weak link. Anyway, just trust me on this. You don't want fatigue or endurance to be the problem here, not when you're strength training. So the next set, I do another 5 reps. and then I rest another 2 or 3 minutes, right? And then I continue this for 5 sets. Now here you can see on the final set, I did 295 for about 4. And so this means I need to go down in weight for the next workout, or maybe stay at the same weight and try to get 5 again, or I go down in weight by 5 pounds and then continue the 5 sets for 5 repetitions. And then when I'm very comfortable doing that, then up it again, okay? So it's okay for the last set maybe not to be able to make the 5 reps, but the whole goal is to be able to make that 5 reps with that last set. Now the way I do it is that if I can easily do it, if it feels like I got another rep or 2 in the tank, sometimes I'll even try and do it. Sometimes. But I make sure that I have a spot if I'm going to do so. But otherwise, I just raise the weight the next workout by about 5 pounds and then continue from there. And then again, try to get 5 sets of 5 repetitions. And that's how I do the 5x5. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Now this next technique is the one that people on the internet get triggered at the most, right? Because they automatically assume that it's a ego maneuver, or a person's doing the movement just for purely ego purposes. They're not necessarily applying a legitimate technique. Although this technique has been applied by strongmen and powerlifters since the dawn of time in order to break through plateaus. And this technique is to overload the system through a partial range of motion as opposed to the full range that you intend at getting stronger at. And by getting stronger in a part of the lift, it therefore transfers to the full lift when you go back to fully doing the full range of motion, right? So case in point, if you're doing partial squats, a lot of times when you're doing a partial squat or just doing a quarter rep, or not even a quarter rep, but just getting used to handling that heavier weight, a lot of the core, the lower back, and the hips get used to it or acclimated. So that way, when you start to lower the weight with a heavier weight and do a full range movement, your body is more used to stabilizing it, at least through part of that range of motion. And then therefore you could start to train it through the next range. But it's overwhelming to the body to train it through the full range right off the bat. And it's easier to acclimate it through parts of the range of motion until you are able to do the full range with that full weight. Now, some ranges of motion, like I've said before, are more appropriate for some people more than others, but assuming everybody has the same range of motion and everybody should lift the exact same, let's just assume that. I don't believe that, but let's just assume that. What you can benefit from is just that you're able to handle heavier poundages and get that nervous system used to it. And that's really the big thing, is just get the nervous system used to feeling heavy weight, and therefore the feeling of that heavy weight starts to become lighter. So this is really a nervous system trick. It's like you're tricking that nervous system to fire muscles where normally it would be overwhelmed. Mountain. Now the other thing you want to watch out for is that this is a very aggressive technique, and you don't want to do it too much, because if you do it too aggressively, you will injure yourself, because obviously, yeah, too much force and the body, you end up overtrained or straining something. So you want to be conservative with this. But one example of this with bench presses would be rack benches, where you're just doing the lockouts at the top with a little bit heavier weight than you normally use. Or you're just, have it on the weight on the pins, and you're just lifting just a little bit and down. And that would be something possibly that would be dangerous for you to do in a full range of movement where there's no spot or there's no rack to basically make sure that you don't drop the weight on yourself. But doing that a little bit, just once in a while, can help you trick the nervous system into believing that the weight that you're using for your straight sets is actually lighter. It actually just feels much lighter. And you'll notice this, if you partial rep 4 plates or something like that, and then you go to lift 3 plates will feel totally light compared to the 4 plates, and you may get an extra rep or 2 in your bench because of it. Now the final technique I'm going to tell you, and I'll combine 2 techniques in this, but it's not really a technique as much as it is important if you want to get stronger, is you need to eat. If you don't eat enough, you're not going to recover, and therefore you're not going to be able to put on that muscle mass. And plus, body weight does breed strength. The more body weight you have, the easier it will be for you to lift more. Hence weight classes in weightlifting. Hence there's weight classes in powerlifting and strongman. So the reason for this is because the more weight you have, yeah, you have more stability. You're able to move more weight, and there's definitely something to this where if you're moving more weight more often, then your bone density goes up, you start to build some more muscles and all that kind of thing. So make sure you're eating enough, which means you're eating a lot, or at least eating your macros, like a gram per pound of body weight of protein, and you're eating some carbs every meal, and maybe you are eating some fats depending on your metabolism, that's this sort of thing. But if you're losing weight and you're doing strength training, that's going to work against you. So just watch out. If you're losing weight, then that means you need to eat more food. And if anything, it's okay to put on a little bit of weight, even if it's a little bit of fat during your strength training phase, right? So yeah, don't worry about that too much, because remember, you're in the strength training phase, not the hypertrophy phase and not the cutting phase, right? So I'm not saying to get totally exorbitantly fat, but if you put on a couple pounds, that's okay. So I hope this helps you out in your training. Thanks a lot for tuning in. If you need to get home, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now. Mountain.